Have you ever wondered what the natural veg and flowering cycle is for Oklahoma? Well, in this video, we're going to get into it. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe.
Are you tired of getting crappy advice from your local hydroponics store? Join our membership, get direct access to me, and let's turn your crop around in days.
Okay, so this year I have a number of clients that are actually located in Oklahoma. So I went ahead and spent a little bit of time documenting some of the light cycle for outdoor growing for Oklahoma because I was curious myself. I'm having a lot of growers calling me up, especially from hemp, also in THC in the last couple of years in Oklahoma. So I decided to also educate myself a little bit more what's going on. Because really, guys, the question is California really the state where you can grow top shelf cannabis year-round outdoors? If you were able to find another place where you could grow top shelf cannabis almost year-round like California outdoors, then you're going to have another state that's going to be able to come in and really take advantage of the booming industry. The problem I found, though, is that there's always been an issue. Over the years, watching hemp for the last 3 or 4 years and really being heavily involved in the hemp industry, which hemp and cannabis are the exact same thing. I personally have witnessed people trying to grow in North Carolina, California, Canada, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, and I always seem to just go back over to California as being the place to grow because a lot of places don't have adequate growing seasons. Although, as I've been diving into Oklahoma, I've actually been kind of intrigued about what Oklahoma could offer the cannabis industry. Okay, so first off, just to quickly answer the question, the plants will naturally stay in veg in Oklahoma roughly June 7th. So remember, guys, if you haven't watched my previous videos talking about how sensitive light is or how to measure the twilight, because twilight's the most important light cycle to measure, specifically the civil twilight, if the plants don't have a total of 15 and a half hours of light cycle, they will start flowering. And the plants are just so sensitive. They will start flowering within 24 hours. So you have to realize that just that 1 minute difference, plants are very sensitive to all of that. So right here, when you come down in June 7th is actually when the plants will stay in natural veg cycle, because right here, 5:43 to 9:13 will equal 15 and a half hours of veg time. Versus in California, it's roughly between June 3rd and June 4th. And in Colorado, it's actually May 15th. So let me go ahead and show you what that looks like real quick on the axes, right? So you have the equator right here, and you have Oklahoma right here. As you can see where that is right here. But then you have California right here, so it's a little bit above Oklahoma. But then you have Colorado, which is almost parallel, but just slightly above California as well. So as you can see, as you go farther up, when the sun starts to go into the springtime, it's kind of hanging out in this upper part of the planet a little bit longer. And by doing that, we're getting our summer time period as the other side of the earth is starting to go into the winter time period. So in July, the plants will naturally start to veg July 3rd versus in California and Colorado, it's roughly the 3rd week of July. So roughly, Oklahoma only has about 28 days out of the entire year the plants will naturally stay in veg. The rest of the time period, they'll go into flowering. So what does that mean exactly, right? So you don't have to do as much force flowering blackout, because they will actually flower as long as you're not giving them supplemental light. So what does that mean for the rest of the time period for the next 11 months? You're going to have to give roughly about 4 hours to 6 hours of additional supplemental light to actually keep your plants that you have outdoors in veg. 4 hours as the summer begins to end, 6 to 7 hours as you're in the peak winter months. Obviously, you're going to have to do your own research and figure out how much supplemental light you want to give, because obviously if you give more, then you're just spending more money, and that's not necessary. This is where, if you end up hiring me as your grow consultant, I end up doing a lot of this type of research for you, or I've already done it for other people, so it's easy for me to respond. So what's the next thing to consider, right? Well, can you even grow plants year-round? Does Oklahoma actually have the type of weather patterns needed to grow cannabis year-round outdoors? So I came over here once again I love this website because it gives so much year-round knowledge. And at the end of the day, when I was in the military, if I remember straight, they would always tell us, piss poor planning equals piss poor performance, right? So often are we willing to spend our money just to get started, yet if we just spent time researching and examining whether our decision would have been a good decision, we could have probably navigated out of a lot of bad decisions that cost us an enormous amount of money. I don't like to think about it, but it is important for me to acknowledge over the years that if I would have just taken a little bit more time to think about my decision before I did it, I would probably have a lot more money in my pocket right now. Because every single time you want to exercise a new idea, it's going to cost you something. It's going to cost you money, time, energy, resources. It might cost you relationships. So just keep those things in mind. So anyways, as we come right here, we're going to have January. I'm looking at the temperature on the highs and the lows, and then I'm also looking at the relative humidity. If I can keep these three things in control, if I can keep the temperature above 55 on the lows at night especially, and under 100 on the temperature, and if I can keep the relative humidity between 45 and 65, 65 is kind of high, in the 60s roughly, this would be teetering as being pretty high, you can grow cannabis. So let's go ahead and go into February. So January, I would say you can't really grow outdoors unless you've spent the extra money for like a shell or an indoor enclosure or something along those lines where you're going to further help increase the temperature and humidity to create the right environment for growing year round. So February 54, 32 still kind of cold. March in the 40s, it's getting there. So I'd say you could definitely start taking advantage of outdoor growing in March time period, especially with some plastic and other things like that. Humidity is staying around the 60s, so that's okay. Lower temperature is increasing, so April is getting pretty nice. Temperature is as high as 80 in May, so the low temperature is definitely increasing, so I like that. The humidity is increasing. I don't really like that. Flipping through, so definitely have the right temperature in July. Okay, so I would say that the biggest thing is for outdoor growing, you could definitely grow between the months of March and November for outdoor growing. And because the plants are capable of flowering throughout the entire year except for June roughly, and the first few days of July, definitely has the right light cycle. Although what you're going to be battling dramatically is a higher humidity, which normally ends up running into PM or botrytis. And at the end of the day, it's all about finding your unique selling proposition, right? So maybe California is growing the top shelf boutique flowers for smokable, but maybe Oklahoma might be getting into extraction more predominantly. Why? It's because if you can't bring in a top shelf flower for smokable, you can still grow plants that will be able to be extracted one day. And what does that do, right? If you're producing product because the plant produces oil, from the very beginning, it starts producing the oil, but you get to return on investment levels roughly around week 6. So as long as you can get there, you're starting to make your money back. And if you can start to make money back, then you're going to start to take little slivers of the market from California and other states like Colorado. For the growers that are growing indoors, obviously you'll keep growing, but really your market cap is only a certain point because you have such a higher cost of production of your product. If you guys can find a strain that is tolerable to PM or botrytis, or you're able to find a strain maybe that will not get so dense, might be a little bit more airy, fluffy, things like that might even be able to help you out. Obviously, using biologicals is also one of my favorite ways to battle PM and botrytis. Next thing to take into consideration, what is the cost of land out there? Well, as you can see right here, $70,000 for 8 acres of land. That is amazing. In Colorado right now, you could pay $160,000 for 1.5 acres. So that's pretty shitty. So Oklahoma definitely has some land, but if I remember straight, they also have some tornadoes. Some areas are going to be a little more expensive, but obviously if you're farming, you'll locate yourself that has the best regulations for this industry. Last but not least, so what are the laws out there? Well, in June 2008, Oklahoma voted to approve State Question 788 and legalize medical cannabis across the state of Oklahoma. Patients with a state-issued medical license can now legally obtain, possess, purchase, cultivate, and consume medical cannabis products. Right there. All right, guys, so I would say that Oklahoma definitely has a lot of benefits. It has a lot more pros than cons. And I'm looking forward to bringing you more information about the Oklahoma growing season for outdoors in later videos. Thank you so much. Please give me a thumbs up, share, and subscribe. Have a great grow, everyone.